We're back with Senator Lindsey Graham, who joins us this morning from Clemson, South Carolina. Senator, good morning.
Good morning, Harry.
Let's first start with Afghanistan. General McChrystal apparently wants 40,000 more troops. Should he get what he wants?
Yes, I would give the general the resources he needs to regain lost momentum. He says in his report, while the situation is deteriorated, success is possible. But to regain the momentum that we've lost, we're going to need additional troops. And without better security, without dislodging the Taliban, this new effort at governance will fail. You can't have a second shot at governance until you get the security situation right. This counterinsurgency strategy of General McChrystal's has been well thought out. I hope the President will give him the troops he says he needs.
You have made numerous trips to Afghanistan. Before we went on television during the commercial break, you said the situation there has deteriorated measurably. How
Yes.
bad is it?
You can't travel like you once could. I was there about a year ago, and the environment of getting off the base is much more difficult. You could have 10,000 Department of State lawyers over there working on the rule of law. You could have all kind of agricultural experts trying to help, do away with the drug problem and replace it with commercial agriculture. You just can't travel. Civilians just can't operate right now. So we need more combat power, not just us, but NATO, to take the fight back to the Taliban, because they have reemerged because of lack of governance and lack of enough troops. The 68,000 American soldiers there now cannot turn Afghanistan around without some help, and that's the big question. I hope they get the help they need.
How urgent is this decision?
He said, General McChrystal said, if we don't do it within a year, the insurgency cannot be defeated. Here's my concern about the next 18 months. We're looking at a trifecta of disasters here. If Iran is not checked, they're going to have a nuclear weapon in the next 18 months. If we don't reinforce Afghanistan now and turn around the military situation, the Taliban are going to take over part or all of Afghanistan. And if NATO doesn't jump into the fight with both feet, they're going to become a paper tiger. We could have 3 major disasters that affect our national security for years to come if we use half measures, reject half measures.
I tried to get an answer from the Secretary of State. Do you really believe the Iranians are currently working on a nuclear weapon?
Absolutely, I believe they are. I believe the Holocaust existed. I've got one rule of thumb. If the president of a country denies the Holocaust, you should believe the worst, not the best about what they're doing. Clearly, they're hiding nuclear programs for a purpose. They're trying to develop a nuclear weapon, and if they are successful, the Sunni Arab states in the region will want a nuclear weapon. Israel becomes much at risk, and we're walking down the road to Armageddon. We have about 18 months using the international community to decisively act. No more half measures. China is supplying 1/3 of the refined petroleum to Iran. They need to join with the Russians, the United States, and the international community to bring this regime to reality. Sanctions only work if they change behavior.
All right.
We need to empower the Iranian people and deter the regime.
Crippling sanctions have been talked about, and the idea that all options should be left open opens the door to military action. When might military action, when should it be considered?
At the last resort, when all meaningful sanctions fail. And what we do in Afghanistan will affect the ability of Iran to get the message. This regime needs to be delivered a message that the international community is deadly serious about stopping their nuclear program. So we have not tried meaningful sanctions yet. We've got a little bit of time to do that. But at the end of the day, the worst thing that could happen to this country, in my view, is for Iran to get a nuclear weapon, because that changes everything in the Mideast for the worst. And what we do in Afghanistan, I think, will affect the outcome in Iran.
So let's stay on Afghanistan for a second. What if if General McChrystal doesn't get the 40,000 troops he asked for?
We're going to lose. We'll be driven out. The Taliban will come back stronger than they were before. The moderates in Afghanistan will go back in hiding or get killed. NATO will be seen as a failure, and America will go it alone in the future. We cannot let NATO fail in Afghanistan. This is NATO's fight, just not America's fight. The Taliban have come back for a reason, but the good news is the Afghan people don't want them back. With additional military power, we can defeat them, and we've got to do what Secretary Clinton said, push the Karzai government or the next government to do better. But until you get the military situation right, you'll never get better governance. So failing in Afghanistan is a disaster for NATO and it will affect Pakistan. The same people trying to fight the Pakistani government are the same ones trying to come back in Afghanistan.
Senator Lindsey Graham, we thank you so much for your time this morning.
Thank you.
All right.